Hello, ladies and gents, and welcome to another episode of Cycling Insider. In this episode, let's talk about an interesting bike from Cube, and it's gonna be Cube Agri C62 Pro for the 2022 season. But before we start, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe and hit that little like button because it's gonna help in growing the channel. And of course, for all of you who are already a subscriber, then definitely thank you. So let's talk about this 2022 Cube Agri C62 Pro bike. And first, we're gonna answer the question, who is this bike for? So you see, this Cube Agri range is all about endurance road bikes. So a bit more relaxed geometry and a bit more, long days in the saddle. This is what this bike is all about. Of course, you can notice immediately that Cube has incorporated certain, aerodynamically optimized frame and the fork on this bike to reduce the drag, just because this is the way the bike industry is going now. But generally speaking, this is not the point of this bike. So don't expect this bike to be, the lightest, stiffest machine. This is all about comfort and long days in the saddle. When you look at the retail price of this Cube Agri C62 Pro, it's going to be 3,400 British pounds. And I would expect in Germany, in Europe, this price is going to be approximately around, again, 3,300 euros. So expect these levels of prices. When it comes to USA, I'm not sure if you can get Cube bikes in USA. So if we have some USA, listeners and watchers, please do let us know if you can get these Cube bikes in US, but I'm not so sure that there is any distributor who deals with Cube bikes in USA, which I think is a bit of unfortunate for USA buyers. So now let's dive in and let's see what do you really get for your hard-earned money. We can kick off with the frame and the fork on this bike. So this is a carbon fiber frame from Cube, C62 advanced twin mold technology carbon fiber frame with availability for internal cable routing. It has an integrated seat post clamp into the frame, and also it's ready for the flat mount disc brakes and 12mm through axles, both front and the back. A fork on this bike is again a Cube CSL carbon fiber fork, C62 carbon fiber fork with flat mount disc brakes and again 12mm through axle at the front. I have to mention here that when it comes to warranty for carbon fiber frames in the forks for Cube, unfortunately it is only 3 years. I think this is the kind of biggest downside of Cube bikes, that the warranty is only 3 years on carbon fiber frames in the forks. So I would really like to see Cube increasing their warranty to minimum 5 years on carbon fiber frames in the forks, because then they would be in line with kind of majority of the bike industry. Although I have to mention, other brands like Trek, Specialized, Giant, Merida, all of them can offer a lifetime warranty on their carbon fiber frames, so I would expect the same at one point in the future from Cube. But it is what it is now, so just please be aware of the 3 years warranty on carbon fiber frames and forks from Cube. Now let's talk about the braking system on this bike, because it's going to be kind of a part of this SRAM wireless group set. So the braking system on the bike is the SRAM Rival hydraulic disc brakes, front and the back, of course, and 160mm braking rotors, both front and the back. I'm not expecting any problems from this SRAM Rival hydraulic disc brakes, although I will mention that from everything I've seen out there and reviews from a bunch of other people, I still believe that Shimano hydraulic disc brakes are still better performing than SRAM hydraulic disc brakes, so maybe this is just some little detail to keep in mind if it really bothers you, and if you are moving from Shimano hydraulic disc brakes to SRAM hydraulic disc brakes, just keep in mind that the feeling might be a bit different than on the Shimano. I wouldn't expect any problems with, braking performance or heat dissipation, but please do let me know if you have used this SRAM Rival hydraulic disc brakes and if you had any problems, or maybe how does it compare with the approximate level of Shimano hydraulic disc brakes. Now let's talk about the group set on this bike, because this is one of the secret sauces and the biggest selling points of this bike, of course. So we are speaking about the wireless group set. So this is a SRAM Rival ETAP Access wireless group set, a 12-speed group set. So everything from the shifters, front mech and the rear mech, everything is wireless, absolutely no cables connecting any of these pieces. And this is SRAM Rival ETAP wireless group set. Absolutely perfect, no problems here, you will definitely enjoy it. It is now the cheapest wireless group set that you can get on the market, and this was basically the brief that SRAM had when they were developing the SRAM Rival ETAP wireless group set. Absolutely superb piece of technology, and anybody I've heard from who has been using SRAM Rival ETAP Access wireless group set is definitely delighted, no special problems with this. Another thing to mention on this carbon fiber frame, of course, is the bottom bracket. So you're getting a press fit bottom bracket, but this is the SRAM Dub standard. Again, from all the reviews and comments I've heard around, this SRAM press fit Dub standard can have a bit more creaking noises than the Shimano press fit bottom bracket. So again, a little detail to keep in mind, and unfortunately you have to stick with this SRAM Dub press fit bottom bracket because the crankset depends on that. Speaking about the crankset, so the crankset you are getting is a SRAM Rival Dub crankset. This is 4835 chain rings, and just to give you another little option, if this 4835 is kind of not or too big to handle, you can always choose another chainring size, which is 4633 in the future. But I think this 4835 chainrings at the front should be perfectly fine. And immediately, if you look the cassette is SRAM XG1250 cassette, 1036 cassette, so 1036 cassette paired with the 4835 chainrings at the front should definitely give you a huge range of gears, and as I mentioned, this is a 12-speed system, so you should definitely find your appropriate gear for climbing any steep mountains. Another little note here about the cassette. This SRAM XG1250 cassette, I mean, absolutely superb piece of engineering, there is no discussion about it, but just keep in mind in the future when you need to replace this cassette, this will set you back 125 euros. So it is a very pricey piece of tech to replace in the future, this SRAM XG1250 cassette. Chain, they didn't cut corners here, so Cube has included the SRAM Rival D1 chain, perfectly fine. It's nice to keep in the future with the same SRAM chain, or even upgrade a little bit higher levels. Of course, you can run some other chains, just make sure that it's compatible with this SRAM cassette and the SRAM chainrings. When it comes to the wheelset on this bike, this is a Fulcrum Racing 77DB wheelset. If you look currently on the Fulcrum's website, you can't find the Fulcrum, Racing 77 series, so the lowest you can find is the Fulcrum Racing 6 DB series, so I'm guessing the 77 series was some kind of OEM production specifically for the Cube, but just briefly to make a comparison with the Fulcrum Racing 6 series, because the specifications are going to be pretty much the same. So with this wheelset on the Cube bike, you can expect a classical aluminum wheelset, so an aluminum rim. This wheelset, of course, is going to be ready for the tubeless tires, but you will have to provide your own tape and the valve, and the total weight of this aluminum wheelset would be approximately 1,800 grams. The rim height will be about 25 millimeters, and the inner rim width will probably be about 20 millimeters. Keep in mind also that the hubs on these wheels are from Fulcrum, so it's sealed cartridge bearings, aluminum hubs, both front and the back, and also expect classical rounded aluminum spokes. So this is briefly about the Fulcrum Racing 77 wheelset. I wouldn't expect, anything special out of it, because in the future, if it really bothers you, you can always upgrade to some more advanced wheel sets. For example, you can have a look at Zip wheels or DT Swiss wheels. This wheel set is wrapped in the Continental Grand Sport tires. I'm glad that here Cube has included 28mm tires both front and back, so you will nicely have a good air volume on these tires and your ride will definitely be smoother. And this is the whole point of this endurance bike, so it has to be, in my opinion, these 28mm tires, or even higher if you can fit, for example, 30mm tires, perfectly fine. Some of the smaller pieces like the handlebar and the stem. Handlebar is from Newman Evolution, and the stem from Cube's own Aero stem. And I'm glad here that both handlebar and the stem are separate pieces, so it's easy to replace them in the future. It's very easy to adjust your position. This is the way to go, in my opinion, with every bike. Also, this stem and handlebar, I'm expecting it to be classical aluminum pieces, but then again, there's no worry about it. When it comes to the seat post and the seat clamp and saddle, so the seat post is again from Cube's own seat post. They call it Comfort Flex, so I'm assuming this is a carbon fiber seat post, but I would just double check with your local Cube dealer that you are getting a carbon fiber seat post, because again, it's so important. It's gonna soak up so much of the road bumps. Saddle, classical, again, product from Cube's own so-called natural fit nuance seat. Seat and saddles are a personal preference, so if you like this one, great. If not, it's easy to replace with your preferred saddle. When it comes to the total weight of this bike, Cube is claiming 9.2 kilograms. They are not saying in which size, so I would expect something like maybe 56 or 58. So as I said before, you immediately see that this is not a light bike, and this is not the point of this bike, because this is a classical endurance bike, comfort, relaxed geometry, long days in the saddle. And just to summarize it, with the total retail price of 3,400 British pounds, and I would expect similarly about 3,300 euros in, for example, Germany. So in a summary, do I have any special complaints about this bike? Well, I will just point out a few little details to keep in mind. First is that, as I said, the warranty on carbon fiber frames and forks from Cube is only 3 years, so keep that in mind. And also, you definitely need to check about this seat post on the bike. Is it a carbon fiber seat post? I would expect it is. If it's not, again, a good position to negotiate, because if you want to buy a quality carbon fiber seat post on the open market, you are looking at easily, 100 to 150 British pounds, US dollars, or euros. Also, one thing to keep in mind for the future is this cassette, SRAM XG cassette. If you need to replace this cassette in the future, and you will definitely need to, it's going to set you back about 125 euros. So keep in mind that it's not a cheap piece of equipment. And definitely the secret sauce of this bike is the wireless group set from SRAM Rival ETAP wireless group set, which is going to work perfectly fine, and it's a beautiful piece of kit. So I think this is going to be it for today. I hope you like what I'm doing, and if you do, please do subscribe and hit that little like button, because it's going to help in growing the channel. And as always, I will see you soon in the next episode. Pura vida!